Well, the morning after Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo joined me for my weekend program this week on Capitol Hill. And I want to share a part of that interview in which we discussed what history shows us about the risk of regime changes, although that's certainly something people would like to see in terms of Iran and the future is a change of this Islamic regime. We need to do so with our eyes wide open. How do we prepare for that? Well, here is that conversation. So let's talk about what a regime change looks like, because from history would tell us, a vacuum is filled by something. And we've been a part of seeing regime changes before, only to end up with a situation that's even worse.
Tony, there's definitely that risk. I think you started your segment in exactly the right place with prayer. We should pray that the Iranian people are able to overthrow this regime in a way that delivers them a good outcome, that it doesn't just end up in the hands of the IRGC thugs, or it doesn't end up in the hands of someone who's even worse. The Iranian people have a long history. This is an amazing nation with deep Persian culture and talented engineers and a school system that is quite capable. These are people who have the capacity to build out a society where people can worship in the way they want, and with leadership that gives space and freedom for commerce and wealth creation, and all the things that we want for them. We need to do all that we can to assist the Iranian people in achieving that objective. We know that this vacuum will get filled. We ought to do everything we can to work to make sure it's filled by those who no longer want to threaten the destruction of the nation of Israel.
You were very clear about this messaging when you were Secretary of State, that our beef is not with the Iranian people. It is with the regime that is repressive. How volatile is the structure of Iran when it comes to the people? What would it take to see a regime change? Are we at that threshold level right now, given what Israel is doing?
Tony, history would teach us that one of the things we can never predict is when regimes like this will fall. I was a young soldier in Germany in 1989, and one day everybody woke up and the Soviet Union had begun its collapse. So you don't know when that moment will be. I must say, if you're a parent of a young girl in Iran and you see what happened overnight, and you see that the trillions of dollars in sanctions against the regime, the billions of dollars spent on weapon systems delivered literally nothing for you, and indeed even worse, continued to oppress you, you must be thinking, can I find friends and partners? Can I find other citizens in my town, in my community, whether you're in Esfahan or Kermanshah or wherever you may be, and find a path forward that is fundamentally different. The challenge is that the regime has the weapons. They have what they call the basij. It's their local law enforcement. They are brutal. But often these regimes fall in a moment just like this one. And I think what Israel has undertaken in these last 24 hours increases the likelihood that the Iranian people will see sunlight and goodness and not be covered in tyranny as they have been since 1979.
To facilitate this, what should be the next steps that the United States takes?
Oh, really three things. One, we've got to make sure we keep our folks safe. So the first step is to make sure we've got postured correctly. I think President Trump has done really good work these last days, putting the weapon systems in the theater so that we can do just that. Second, I've heard some leaders in the United States Senate, Democrats, say that this attack was reckless. That's a mistake. What would have been reckless is to allow Iran to continue down the path towards a nuclear weapon, and now that's not going to happen. And so the second piece of this is we should continue to support our ally Israel and make sure that we provide at least the tacit support necessary so that they can do what's needed there inside of Iran for the days and weeks ahead. The political pressure to stop Israel will start today at the UN and continue in the days ahead for sure. And then finally, we should make very clear that when the moment is right, we will support the Iranian people in their effort. We will provide the tools and resources necessary so that an Iranian regime that has fallen is followed by a set of leaders inside of Iran that the Iranian people actually desire and want. And that'll be a really good outcome if we can assist in all three of those ways.
You mentioned the United Nations. longtime critic of Israel. It seems to be they exist just to harass Israel almost. But timing is everything in an operation like this. And just watching the body language of the Prime Minister and others and seeing the shuttling back and forth, I knew the window they saw, as you made reference to earlier, was closing. But this week, the IAEA, for the first time in 20 years, finding and actually issuing a resolution that Iran was non-compliant in their nuclear program, their non-proliferation obligations. This should somewhat, I would think, muffle the international community, because this is certainly, the International Atomic Energy Agency is not a puppet of Israel. So I would think that this might help when we talk about that window of opportunity.
It probably does help, Tony, but make no mistake about it. The UN has become anti-Israel, indeed anti-Semitic over the last decade in ways that it just simply was not before. Israel loses just about every vote at the UN General Assembly. And of course, on the UN Security Council, two of Iran's partners, the Chinese Communist Party and Russia, sit to veto anything that the United States might want to do at the Security Council level. So I agree. The wording from the sanctions from the IAEA was important. They are a neutral inspection body that does really good verification work, and they came to see that Iran was not complying with its obligations under international law. That is helpful. I doubt it changes many minds at the United Nations, Tony, and it saddens me to say that, but I suspect it's true.
Final question for you, Mr. Secretary. I know we're focused on Iran, we're focused on Israel. Oftentimes, though, when you get tunnel vision into one area of the world, something else might happen. Where else should we be watching right now?
We've had in the last weeks conflict in Pakistan and India, still very unsettled in other parts of the Middle East as well. We shouldn't forget what's happening in Gaza today. Trying to get humanitarian assistance in there has proven incredibly difficult. And then I'll bet President Zelensky was watching last night as well. Both he and the Israelis were able to smuggle drones inside another sovereign nation and launch them with deep attacks in a clandestine way. The Russians and the Chinese are partners of Iran. Iran is clearly the loser here. And so I'm guessing that Xi Jinping is rethinking how deep a partnership to have with Iran. That is another good feature of what the Israelis have accomplished.
Mike Pompeo, it's always great to talk with you, my friend. I greatly appreciate your contribution to our country, and thank you for continuing to serve and provide insight and understanding.
Thank you, Tony. Bless you. Have a great day.
That was part of my conversation with former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on my weekend program this week on Capitol Hill.